Oh, it's you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scumm Bar. Welcome to Scumm Bar Podcast, episode 68, where we talk movies, video games, pop culture, books, PlayStation, and everything in between. I'm your host, Mattbrush, and with me today is...
Anth0z. That was really good.
I used to do that all the time. That was just like, I guess I just played too much PlayStation that I just always did that one.
It's like, I used to do that for like Sega.
Sega!
But then there was like one version. Yeah, that one. Just this guy just like yelling at us for some reason.
The old advertisements, it was just a guy, Sega! He's just so angry.
Yeah, you can't do that with like the Nintendo games. For GameCube, it's
that one's
like,
good.
There's no words.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was
we
good.
can make noises all day.
Yeah, we can.
Welcome to Scumm Bar Podcast. Today's episode is going to be mostly focused on the PlayStation 5 reveal. I'm pretty excited.
The future of gaming.
The future is now. I'm pretty excited to talk about it, but before we get into that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping here. Anth0z, how are you?
I'm okay.
Good. I'm glad I asked you. In these trying times of COVID-19, we have to make sure that we look to our neighbors and we ask, how are you?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I forgot to... This kind of like is already out of my mind, but... So over the weekend, I was having... had a barbecue with some friends. We were on their patio, so we're distance and stuff. And so I had a bunch of food, had some drinks. And then... so we met around like 7 o'clock. We were chatting... And we moved the conversation to his car because it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and we didn't want to wake up his wife or fiance, and we also didn't want to disturb the neighbors if we stayed on the patio. So moved to the car, and then at some point I just got really overheated, needed to crack open a window, but opened the door, and I stood outside to get some air, and then I guess because I stood upright that I fainted.
Whoa!
Just out of nowhere, yeah. I blanked out, and then by the time I woke up, my friends were like helping me like back into my car, into the back seat, and so I was kind of like lying down, and that's when I kind of came to, but yeah, I didn't realize that I fainted. I don't know if you can see, like it's kind of small, but like so I did hit the ground a little bit, my hand, my knee, and I don't think you can see the mark on my chin. From where?
Oh, I think I can sort of see it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very little. Like my friend who was in the front, like at the driver's seat, he was able to get out quick enough. I think they noticed that I must have been like slumping over or something. So yeah, they caught me. Long story short, we don't have to go into it, but I went to the hospital, and I was there for maybe like 4 or 5 hours or so. And apparently vasovagal is what the doctor thinks is what happened, that sometimes people will have some sort of like faint episode and they're not necessarily sure what triggers it. Like it could be different from time to time.
Right.
My family doctor that I saw today said sometimes it's if you don't have enough food in your stomach, sometimes if you get up too quickly. And I have a friend who said that her mom and her sister would get really dizzy and feel faint sometimes they also had a low blood count.
Right.
So the test results from the hospital found that I may have been anemic, and that I have a slightly low blood level or blood level count. But then I did iron level test today, and they said the levels are fine. So it could have just been like a one-off thing. I don't know. I recovered pretty quickly. And I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling good for the podcast. So that's important.
Well, I had no idea, but
yeah, I forgot to mention earlier when we were catching up, and
that's totally fine.
Reminded me. So yeah,
I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're doing good.
Thanks.
My dad actually is anemic, and he has to take iron pills all the time. So he goes through very similar symptoms, and it can be the smallest things that trigger it. And he doesn't necessarily faint, but he will have to lie down quite a bit if it's the smallest thing, and suddenly, he's probably about to faint unless he does something to relax himself. So he goes and lies down.
Does he feel like dizzy or
He described. Yeah, he kind of like. Well, okay, so my mom is diabetic, so with her, we see a lot of that same kind of thing. Like she starts to lose focus on what's going on, and she's not necessarily paying attention to the conversation as much. She starts to kind of go into her head a little bit. And my dad is the same way with his when he gets anemic. So we kind of realize in our family when you're having a conversation with somebody and their eyes just kind of are not really looking at you, or they are, but they're glazed and they're just sort of like kind of not in the conversation anymore. We're kind of used to just kind of being like, hey, how are you doing? Like just checking with them because if it's my mom, I mean, it's gonna turn into a diabetic episode or something. But if it's my dad, then it's he needs to lie down. So
right. And so I guess with your mom, is that something that you have to check in so that you can take action immediately?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's type 1 diabetic and she's epileptic as well, which is quite common. And so it can turn into a serious thing like a seizure or something like that if not treated beforehand. So usually she's quite self-sustaining. She could do most of this herself, but every now and then it just requires a family member to kind of pay attention in case there's some signs and she doesn't notice them. So but that wasn't to be about diabetes at all. It's just that with my dad being anemic, sometimes we just kind of joke it's similar symptoms, so it's a similar kind of thing. So he's not really in the conversation anymore. He's starting to glaze off a little bit. So that's how we know. I don't really I can't really, I'm bad at describing it, but you just know it when you see it, I guess.
I understand.
Anyways, sorry to hear that, but obviously bouncing back, so that's cool. And what better than to talk about video games and movies and all the things that really don't matter in this life, but they also matter a lot.
Right, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. But before that, how are you?
I'm good. I don't have nearly as dire news or anything like that to talk about.
It's okay.
I've been living with a puppy, so this is week 2 now with a puppy, I guess. So Kova. So it's been fun. We got the new dog here. We've been doing our whole training sessions and stuff with her. I'm not gonna lie, it is challenging with a puppy. It's probably more challenging than I was expecting. It's more like having a kid than I thought, but it's entirely worth it, and I recommend it to anybody who welcomes the responsibilities of that. It's a lot of fun, and it's like it's as I describe it, it's like like your happiness levels. Let's say you get a girlfriend or a significant other, I should say. Your happiness level just increased by 10, so you now can go from 0 to 10, but it also decreased by 10. It can go from 0 to negative 10 because things happen with a relationship, right?
Sure.
And I've always heard that with getting a kid, it's the same thing, but it's 1,000 now. So when you have a kid, it's now your happiness level can go all the way up to 1,000, but it can also go negative 1,000. So you can lose the child or something, for example.
Wow,
right?
What a gamble.
It could be, so it increases this threshold of happiness in life, technically, right? But it also there's risk, as there is with most responsibility. Right. And I find with a puppy, I'm shocked to say that it must be like that. I'll say 100 as an arbitrary number, but it's like increasing my happiness by 100. There's also the risk of negative 100, but still, it's worth that responsibility, and I love it. So having fun. We had a weird moment today where the litter, somebody is returning one of the pups from the litter, and it's going back to the farm where they're from, and it's a boy. And we were like, ooh, like we really want girl dogs. So I was like, because the kind of boy dogs, they just kind of pee on everything. And I was like, I don't really know. But we looked and I was like, well, if there's an opportunity here to get like her brother, I guess, my dog's brother, is like, well, maybe we should do that. So we sent the message off to the healer, to the farmer, I mean. And
to the mage.
To the tank, and so she let us know that there is already a house ready for rehome and all that. So we don't have to worry about it. But there was a moment there where we're like, wow, oh my God, are we getting another dog here? So it could have happened.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, all is well, and the dog is happy, and life is good. She still cries at night, but that's because we were a little lenient at first, and now we're kind of putting the hammer down. So that was on us more than her. We're learning just as much as she is. So,
as in, you're not sleeping with her.
No, well, she sleeps in the bedroom with us, just in her own bed that's beside our bed. But when she doesn't see us, she's quite dependent on us. So when she doesn't see us, she starts to get panicky and all that. So we've found ways to make it easier on her, but you'll learn. Like last night was a little bit tough. She was crying a whole bunch, and we thought is just because she was full of anxiety, right? Yeah. And for maybe like an hour, it's just constantly my fiance and I just kind of like being like, no, like go back to bed. We're going. This is bedtime, kind of thing. And eventually I realized, like, does she need to go outside? I was like, maybe she does. So I pick her up and take her outside. And I was like, oh my God. Like, all she had to do was go outside. Then she was just a perfect angel after that. I was like, that's on us. I felt so bad. I was like, we were just yelling at her for like an hour. But like, again, we're learning as much as she is. Like, it's the miscommunication thing. You just don't get it, right? So
yeah, you can't expect to know those things like right away. I think exactly, like you learn it over time. You begin to realize, like I don't know if you can tell like the different kind of whimpers or like cries, because I have never owned a dog, right?
Yeah,
but I think somehow you'll eventually get used to it and you'll be able to figure it out.
And as she's growing, we're seeing more facial expressions in her now. Actually, as you commented when you saw her on the video cam, she's looks more like a dog. Like she's got more facial features, so it's just you can see like eyebrows move or smiles and stuff every now and then. So we are picking up more like what she's thinking a little bit. Like I know when she's like trying to get away with something now a little bit better than I did like last week, for example. So
yeah.
That makes it fun. Anyways, that's nice. What's going on in my life. It's fun. I like it. And I'll have more to say next week. But I would like to move on to a section I like to call Ye Old News.
Ye Old News.
Anth0z, I don't have much news for today, I have to admit. I don't
have much.
But
I know I love you.
Because I'm mostly excited to talk about the PlayStation 5. I have a quick thing I'll say, and I just saw this in the news the other day. I'm not going to politicize this or anything like that. I'm not really going to say too much of my opinion at this moment, but I just found it very interesting, and I would like people to think about this statement a little bit. So there is, for the Oscars, for the Academy Awards, it just came out that there's going to be a diversity qualification for each film that goes into the Academy Awards. So the film must represent certain minority requirements to qualify for an Academy Award before it's even up for the Academy Award. For example, now I'm not sure if this is exactly what it means, but this is where my mind goes. For example, if your movie had all white people in it, it wouldn't hit the requirements to actually be an Academy Award film. I don't know what that says for Pixar films, by the way, but still, it's...
Well, I guess it's probably crew as a whole. Actually, no, because there's still representation visually, even if, like, the characters themselves, like, they represent different groups. Either way.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, maybe, I'm not sure.
Or, sorry... I mean, when they're depicting people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
sorry,
I was thinking about like a cat. I was thinking like a Bug's Life,
Wall-E,
and I was thinking like a caterpillar, like a bee. I was like, I guess so. Like, I don't know.
Sorry.
Anyways, I don't really want to turn it into like a debate or anything like that. I'm definitely not trying to challenge anything. It's just I found it very strange and interesting. Thought I'd bring it up. If anybody else doesn't know about that, take a look, because it's a new thing for the Academy Awards. As we get to the Academy Awards, we'll talk about it then. But it's an interesting requirement now that's going in.
I haven't heard that. Yeah, cool.
I just found out like yesterday, so.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. All right. I do have a couple things, but like you, I'm also excited to talk about PS5, so I'll kind of just like brush through mine. So one of the...
You're gonna Matt brush through it?
Zing.
Okay, go
ahead. So there is a League of Legends player named Anth0z. And he has been he's been regarded as one of the pretty much like the best AD carry in League of Legends of all time. And he is now going to be retiring, and it's due to health concerns. So he's I think how many seasons? I feel like he's played for maybe like seven or 8 seasons or something like that. And he plays for China. Let's see. I think he's helped get his team to Worlds, and maybe they came second a couple times. So he hasn't come first in Worlds, but they did come first in a mid-season or international invitational, and that was a huge thing. So people, I think he's not like one of those characters where like people where it seems like a lot of like it's a mixed bag. Like some like him, some don't. It seems like I don't see a bad thing about him anywhere, and people are so inspired by him, influenced by his gameplay, and just and they just like truly admire him.
The Jackie Chan of League of Legends.
I guess so. That'd probably be one way to put it. He's definitely admired, and man, he's young. He's 23.
Retiring at 23.
Retiring at 23, right? So
my God,
due to health concerns, I think it might be diabetes or something. But
I could be retired 3 times over by now.
So it's sad news to hear, but I was looking at some of the highlights, and there's one consensus of one of the best moments of his career, and it was during that game where they won the international invitational, and it was I think it was the second last team fight before they ended the game, and so with some of the items in this game, you call them they have active. Sorry, so some games you have to actually activate them, or some items you just like use casually, or just you don't have to do anything with them, they just work. Good. So some of the active items, they generally have countdowns. So this one somebody on the enemy team, their active item was on a cooldown, so it wasn't ready to use, and Uzi's team was trying to set up for a fight. And so because I guess they were confident that if they won the fight, then they could take it through to the rest of the game and win it. And so so Uzi at one point says their item is still on cooldown for 10 more seconds. So the thing is, like, when somebody uses an active item, like there's no on-screen countdown. Like you can't actually see what the other team sees in their items. So you just have to like either take like a mental note, write it down, or just remember. So like he somehow remembered that this one item in like this last team fight was used, and now it has 10 seconds left. So it's still not usable by this enemy team player.
Wow.
And so he calls it out, and so he gives his teammates confidence to start a play. And because they initiated that play, and Uzi takes advantage of it, and like the rest of the team jumps on it, they take down the other team's highest damage dealer right away. That just blows them up, and so now it's a 5v4.
Wow.
But they were able to, because like the other team lost their damage dealer, they didn't have much other support, so Uzi's team was able to pretty much take them all down like one by one. And it was, that moment was pretty much like it was definitive that their team was going to win. All they had to do was just kind of push through to the push down the lane and just win it. And so long story short, because of that moment, he's like, that was the biggest highlight of his career, led to him winning this international tournament. And I'm sure like his whole team was proud of him for that. Like they kind of gave him a moment and let him just hold the trophy like on his own.
That's cool.
And yeah, so I think it's sad that he is retiring so soon, but I think he's left a great legacy. Like people really enjoy his gameplay. People, like I said, are really inspired by him as a player. So hope for the best for him going forward. And I hope we get to see more players kind of rise up to match his level, because I think I think being able to see people like that really push the game to the extent where like you're kind of singled out amongst like thousands and thousands of people. I think that's saying something. So good for him for getting this far.
You said for health concerns, is it related to League of Legends or is it just in general?
I think it's just in general.
Oh, okay.
I remember
because I was wondering, like at 23, I was like, did something happen where like his bones were maybe still developing when he was playing this game, and then like something carpal tunnel or something? I really don't know, but I was trying to think of something.
Well, okay, so I'm just reading now. So I didn't read this part earlier, but so retired June 2nd, 2020, after an 8-year career due to years of wrist injuries and ongoing complications with type 2 diabetes.
Oh, so, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I heard the diabetes part first, and I figured that maybe that's kind of more of a health concern. The wrist injury probably also, just prevents him from being comfortable while he plays. And I can see how a wrist injury would take place during competitive play, because if you're not relaxed in your awkward positions, you can get really tense, and like
rapid gaming sessions and healthy eating, unfortunately, it's doable, but it's hard.
But not sustainable.
No.
Completely. So
nobody's at like 12 at night and they're like, all right, I got another couple more games in me, I'll grab banana.
Yeah.
Actually, even the banana wouldn't be all that great, all the fructose in there, but still, it's that's funny. No, that sucks. It's sucks for him with the health concerns, but good for him with the career. That's really awesome. 8 years and like retiring at 23. The guy's, that's a legend. That's a legend right there.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So that's that. And I'll mention a couple of things quickly. So one was I mentioned to you earlier. There's a trailer for 40 Years of Rocky. So it looks like it's narrated by Sylvester Stallone. I imagine it's going to be more of like his career as opposed to just the idea of Rocky.
Right.
And because he was the one who brought up the idea and he produced it. He started it and everything. So I suspect it's going to be kind of like Sylvester Stallone through the years as like portraying Rocky and coming to the point where he is now.
I already watched interviews with Sylvester Stallone, and the way he talks about those movies, like I could watch those interviews so much. They're so good. They're so inspiring. He's just a genuinely awesome guy to listen to, and I'm excited for this. I haven't even seen the trailer yet, but I got to go watch this after we do this podcast, and I'll check it out because it's gonna be fun for sure.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen this trailer, go ahead and watch it. It's Bill and Ted.
I saw it. I did see that trailer. Okay. I thought it looked really dumb. I was never a Bill and Ted fan though. Like I didn't watch them when I was a kid, so I don't have any nostalgia for these movies. So I'm not the right audience. But watching this, I was like, I like Keanu Reeves. I don't know this other dude, and it just seemed like not the Keanu Reeves I know. You know, like for me, when The Matrix gets remade or whatever, and Keanu's in it for like a little bit, that'll be fun for me because that'll be my nostalgia for Keanu Reeves. But this, I was like, this is not my thing.
Yeah. So I did watch the movies when I was growing up, and so seeing this and seeing how it seems like they're really sticking to how the originals were, I am intrigued. Although I do notice the difference in Keanu Reeves these days, that he's definitely talking slower, and I don't think that is his character. I feel like that's actually age. I think it is age because just he was always kind of like more of a mellow. He always played more mellow characters, but I think it had some sort of energy that was very prominent, and nowadays it's not so much there. It's like he's trying to push the energy out, but it's not quite coming through. So I think it's age, but you know, he still seems like he's going strong with the John Wick movies and
I wouldn't say Matrix, he's not a strong character, strong person for his age. Just that the age has changed who he is so much that he doesn't have that energy of the young kid the way he was portraying it. He's got a totally different energy now. This macho energy for the like you said, John Wick. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I'll just mention this last one. And Star Wars Squadron has a trailer.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
So I just saw it the other day, and it looks like it's going to be like a 5-on-5 like. It looks like it's co-op, but then it says something about single-player story. So I'm really confused how that works. But
it's a video game.
It's a video game. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I used to play Fighter Squadron back in the day. It was like a fighter pilot game, but in Star Wars.
Okay, so I guess that's what this is going to be. But
yeah. There was a few of them on PlayStation 2. I used to play them on, I think. There was probably a few on PlayStation and possibly before that. Remember when we were talking about the Star Wars arcade game that was all polygons that you would shoot the other ships and stuff like that? I've always had a fascination with the Star Wars games that are like Ace Pilot kind of games. So this would probably be cool. I got to check that out too. That would be a lot of fun.
Cool. Anyway, that's my news.
Cool. Let's move into the PlayStation 5 conference.
Let's do it.
So this is the first year where I've been very out of the loop when it comes to video games. The only reason I knew the new controller was because of you. You sent that to me, I don't know, a month ago when we talked about the PlayStation 5 controller.
Right.
And we've talked a little bit about what we expect in the specs of these the next gen consoles and what to maybe see. And then obviously last week we talked about the new engine. So the Unreal Engine, right? And so there is a lot of talk in the forefront right now about the next generation of graphics or what to expect. But coming into this, I had really no idea what to expect. And when you sent me the video conference, I didn't even know PlayStation was unveiling it. So also I had a new puppy and just stuff going on in my life. And I did not find time.
You had real things going on.
I did not find time to watch this until way later on. And while I watched the conference, I must admit, I was also trying to subdue a puppy for a lot of it. So I didn't miss things, but I was not like back in the day. I used to literally have like a pen and a paper, and I'd be like nose to the TV watching like the whole press conference. So I was not as focused this time as I normally am. That being said, I still got a lot from the conference. And also, I'll say that the conference seems totally different to what I'm used to. I'm much more used to a dude being on a stage, being like, "With the PlayStation 4's technology, we are going to do this and this and this," and then they go off, and sometimes they talk a little bit too much, and it gets a little bit boring. But it's funny watching something like this where they removed all that, and you almost miss it. Like in a weird way, you get nostalgic for it.
Yeah, it was interesting because like between I guess some of the more like AAA titles, that you would get somebody from that studio giving some sort of little speech and giving the rundown of it. And I was thinking the same thing. Like I kind of expected, not like Reggie, but somebody like a singular person, representative of all of Sony PlayStation to be the one that was kind of narrating and directing through the whole thing. But I guess, you know, obviously because of COVID, things have to be portrayed differently. And at the same time, I think it's kind of cool that they give more people a chance to talk about the games that they've been working on, as opposed to one singular person who hasn't really had a hand in all of those games, you know.
The last couple of conferences, they've mentioned that they want to let the games speak for themselves. And while I totally agree with that, and if you asked me before I saw this conference what they should do, that's exactly what I would have said, because that's always worked for them. But it's funny how watching this conference, it almost made me feel like, did you do it too much? Like, did you only talk about the games? And like, in my opinion, barely talked about the console. Like,
yeah,
sure,
they barely talked about the console.
They show the console. That's cool, obviously, showing the console. But I'm the dude that wants to know the specs. I want to know so much more. I want to hear it from the dude's mouth about backwards compatibility and exactly how far that goes.
That's true. Like, yeah, it's a good point.
A lot of this was WoW and Shazam without the actual minute detail that I kind of wanted.
Yeah, I guess the Future of Gaming show it's almost more like it's supposed to be an E3 event, because usually, yes, I guess for like E3, that's when you see all the game reveals, and I never watched them when they revealed a console, because I guess I wasn't really into watching it back then. But now in the past few years, when we've seen E3, it's usually just been about the development of games as opposed to where the console, like the direction of the console. So I guess they just wanted to keep focus on the games as opposed to talking about the console, and they'll probably just find other times to reveal more stuff about the console anyway.
It's true, but as an example, in the PlayStation 4 reveal, when they had the conference there, and I loved how they revealed the PlayStation 4, because they were even like, it's coming out this year and it's going to be this I think it was $399, and it blew everyone away, because they were like not expecting that at all. And it also was perfect timing, because it revealed right after the Xbox One had revealed, and Xbox One had just finished saying that they were digital only, and then PlayStation's conference was about the games, and they were like, you can play anything, is like, and they had the discs, so they had the disc drive, and everyone was like, oh my god, it's got a disc drive. It's like, that wasn't even going to be their big thing to sell, and that ended up being one of their biggest things they had, and they were kind of like, oh yeah, it's got a disc drive, like but anyways, for an example, there was about a 10 to 20 minute segment in that conference showing you the operating system when you turn it on, what it looks like, create an account, how you can connect it to Facebook, the differences between messaging people online, what PlayStation Plus looks like, the new store, all that stuff they would show in the conference there. Now, some of it's boring, sure. Some people don't care about the Facebook connectivity. So some people don't care about how the GUI looks or the main screen and all that. But to people like me, I was really curious about that kind of stuff, and we didn't see any of it really with PlayStation 5. And you're right, they might show it later on. They might just kind of like breadcrumb it along. But for a reveal, you're right, this felt so much like E3 to me, but almost like the parts of E3 that I can't stand. I hate it when someone's like, due to PlayStation 5, or because of PlayStation 5's technology, we can now bring you more graphics, more this, more that, and all of that in the next game of blank. And it's just jargon. None of it means anything, right? Like, it's so annoying. Like, the graphics are, because the processing power is so good, like, our game can take you into outer space, and you're like, what does that even mean? Like, it's like your game is optimized the way your game is optimized. Like, there was a Ratchet and Clank trailer where the guy said that because of PlayStation 5, they could take two different worlds and seamlessly riff between the two. Now, don't get me wrong, the game mechanics seems really, really cool, and I'm all for it. But I was like, that's not because of PlayStation 5. That's because of you optimizing your game to be able to do that. You know, you could have done the same thing on a PlayStation 1 if you made the game that way, right? So it's just bizarre, but it all works as jargon when you're selling it to people.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. I actually wanted to mention that one thing specifically about Ratchet and Clank too, because I can't recall many games other than maybe Jedi Fallen Order where they do seamless transitions between gameplay and a cinematic.
Oh yeah.
And I thought what we saw of Ratchet and Clank looked really good, because that whole I'm what I gather from that whole scene, as he's kind of riding on rails and he jumps through this portal, and like there's a whole bunch of things going on, and he lands on another set of rails or whatever, and it just seems like like your gameplay is while he's on the rails and shooting stuff, and all of a sudden we see this like cinematic in the middle of it, and it's like, whoa, is this still a game? Like it didn't like cut. Right, it's like it's just continuous, and I thought like that looked really cool.
It reminded me a lot of Uncharted. I feel like Naughty Dog's been very good at that over the last couple of years, of making a seamless kind of from the cinematic into the gameplay, and it really kind of tricks you sometimes. There's many people always joke in Uncharted 4 how like there's a cinematic will end, but you don't realize it's over, and then you have to push the controller, and you're like, oh, I'm playing. You know, like you don't realize you're playing, and that moment is great. Developers love that, obviously. And yeah, I'll agree with you. In Ratchet and Clank, there's a moment when he's on the pirate ship, and they just get shot by what looks to be a random shot, and then suddenly Clank goes flying out, and it's now a cinematic. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It was seamless there. Yeah. But that's also not new. Like, that's definitely been around since even the launch of PS4. That's been a thing. Like, Uncharted 3 had that, right? So, it's not new, but it's nice to see. Anyways, let's move into the conference. We can talk about, like, I've got some lists of stuff we can talk about. I just wanted to briefly say I'm not mad about this conference at all. I think it was great. It was a lot of fun. I don't want to sound like a downer, but I've just got so many things that were almost like, to me, they felt like either missteps or things that could have been done better. But I've also got some things that I thought were a lot of fun. So
okay,
I hope I don't come off too negative, but whatever, we'll get into it. So let's talk about Ratchet and Clank. Anyways, we're there now. So
okay.
So Ratchet and Clank, to me, this is total personal opinion. This game looks great. I love Ratchet and Clank. I'm a huge fan of the series. I played them all, except for I think Deadlocked was like the only one I didn't play. But I even played Secret Agent Clank, so I've played like all of them.
Okay.
But this one here looks great. I'm all for it. Why can't it be on PlayStation 4? And also, is it on PlayStation 4? Or is it launched on PlayStation 5 only? I don't understand how it is. To me, it looks actually very similar to the Tools of Destruction game that they had made not that long ago. And it almost looked to me like this is a game that's going to launch on both consoles. And I feel like it asks the question that are these exclusive PS5 games, or are a lot of these PS4 and 5 games?
Oh, good question. Well, they did have a few of those games where it said made exclusively for PS5.
Or designed exclusively for PS5, as we saw with the Square Enix one. So
right.
Yeah.
So with this one, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I imagine that, let's see if they're backwards compatible, but I guess, I don't know, we'll have to see. But
yeah, I think it varies game to game. This Ratchet and Clank one, I believe, is PS5 only. But I just ask why, because I do believe that they could have made that same game for the PlayStation 4 and it would have been totally fine. I understand its marketing and its selling, but it just seems strange to me. That being said, it looks great. It looks awesome. It looks great. It doesn't necessarily look different to me than a PlayStation 4 game. It looks just like a PlayStation 4 game, which I thought they were all beautiful. You know, they all looked so good by the end of it. Like God of War, Horizon, all these games were looking, even Death Stranding, like they were all looking amazing. Mm-hmm. It's just the content you're looking for at that point. And Ratchet and Clank, this new one, it just looks like a PS4 game. It looks great. Cool. But now it's only on PS5, a console I don't have, is how I see it, right? Like,
yeah. And so, and with this game, it looks like we get a new character, who I'm naming Socket, because I have no idea. I don't think they...
Oh, I was wondering.
She is a new character. It's a new character,
she totally
right?
is a new character. You're right. And I was thinking about that. I was like, I wonder what her name is. And then my brain did the same thing. I was like, what kind of pun would it be, or like joke? So it works with Clank, you know, like.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Socket for now.
Socket. I like that. Maybe it is.
Wait. Ratchet is which? Okay, I never played the games, but
Ratchet
which character
is the Lombax. He's the rabbit-like creature.
Okay,
and
right.
Clank
and then
is
Clank
the robot.
is like the robot. Okay, cool, good.
So
in this game,
let me just actually say then. So for someone like you who's not played the games, then coming in, if you buy the PlayStation 5 and you need a launch title game, it looks to me like this is the best one you could get. It's gonna like the Ratchet Clank games are amazing, and when they showed that gameplay trailer, which was great by the way, going into the gameplay trailer, they actually showed that it's a real Ratchet and Clank game. This isn't just the graphics only and no content. They actually had content, so I was very appreciative of that. Yeah,
that's right. A lot of the games were just kind of just cinematic teasers
for sure.
And some. Oh, we'll get to those.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this one ability, and let me know if this is in a previous game, but he throws this kind of like dome. It's like it's got a like hexagon texture to it, or pattern to it, and then he throws like a little whip to kind of pull himself towards that.
No, that's definitely new technology for Ratchet and Clank. That's a new mechanic, and I think that's why they were showing it off so much there.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. He's like pulling the world closer to him.
That's exactly.
It was a very interesting visual trick. Now, okay, so let me forfeit my own sword here. I said that it doesn't look from PS4 to PS5. There was no graphic change. That's something that arguably could be a next console generation thing where he's pulling the level closer. Maybe you needed stronger processing power to do something like that. I still argue that it's on the game developer, not the console at that point, to optimize the game to allow for something like that. But it looked so good when he pulls the world that it tricks your brain. You're kind of like, what's going on? Like,
yeah, like it didn't dawn on me until I saw it maybe like after a few times. But when I did, I was like, whoa, that's a cool little, like, I don't know, like a nifty, like a nice touch. This is a nice touch rather than seeing your body get propelled towards that, and then like it's almost like the difference is that your character has to kind of like readjust if it gets pulled, but because the world is coming to you, you're already adjusted, so it's easier for you to transition into what move you want to do next. So I like that as a mechanic. I like that.
And something to keep in mind is Insomniac Games is the people that make Ratchet and Clank, and they've been doing that forever now. They're also the people that make the Spiderman game, so the one that came out on PlayStation 2 years ago that was a smash hit. And also, as we saw, there was a trailer for another Spider-Man game for this console.
Yeah.
And Insomniac Games seems to be doing that. So they've split their team up, clearly, to do both. But I think what's happened is they've learned a lot of things from the Spider-Man game 2 years ago, and they've maybe implemented some mechanics, not necessarily Spider-Man's mechanics, but like things they've learned from that game into this Ratchet and Clank game. And I'd say this rift pulling is something they probably learned along the way, maybe with the Mr. Negative character from Spider-Man game before. But it's interesting how we got that visualness there that's just unique and cool, but very Ratchet and Clank at the same time. So
yeah. I don't really have much more to say about Ratchet and Clank.
Why don't we move into the Spider-Man one then? So this one is going to be the Spider-Man game, but it's starring Miles Morales now instead.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but to me, this looks, and I think it's confirmed that this is a PlayStation 4 game as well, this looks like DLC or like a standalone game, but not a full game. No, they obviously didn't say anything, but to me, I feel like it's the same city, probably the same map, same engine. Like, it doesn't look like they changed the graphics engine. It's the same graphics engine.
Yeah.
Just a new playable character, and I'm assuming, obviously, a new storyline. So I feel like this is going to be a $29.99 kind of price point game that's standalone, that you can buy. You don't need to own Spider-Man, but you just buy this, and it's like branching off from the same thing. And I do feel it's PS4, PS5. It's not like an exclusive PS5 thing. That's where I was going from this trailer, but I don't know. What do you think?
That makes a lot of sense, because when there's just a moment where Miles, like, he web slings towards an enemy, and when he kicks him, there's these like white little graphics or what do you call them, like kind of visual effects just around him.
Spidey sense.
Particles. Well, no, the Spidey sense is usually what you see around Spider-Man himself.
Right.
But this one was around the enemy he was kicking.
Oh,
so
interesting.
it was. But the thing is, it still was very reminiscent of what we see in the most recent release of Spider-Man. So that made me wonder if it was supposed to be some sort of like same world sequel kind of game. So I think maybe you're on the right track. That it's probably going to be DLC or expansion or something.
Exactly. I'd be shocked if it's a sequel. I'd also be shocked if it is just straight up DLC, because they would have marketed it as such instead of as it is, I think. I really feel like it's going to be its standalone game to buy. And I feel like they missed the mark a little bit too if it was DLC and made people have the Spider-Man game and then buy this. Like, I think some people want to just buy this and only this kind of thing. So I could be wrong, but if anybody out there knows Infamous Second Son, and then they had a DLC standalone game called First Light, and that's kind of how I feel like this is going to be carried. It's the same way. So First Light was standalone. You didn't have to own Second Son at all, but it used the same city. So you were just a totally different character in the same city. So very similar idea, and I feel like that's where this is going.
Okay. So I just want to mention one last thing about this, and it's just the beginning of, it's like the reveal to show like when we finally see that it is Miles. I find that this, along with some of the other titles for this conference, that the trailers to me felt more like movie trailers than they ever have,
really did.
which I really like, because games to me are not just about like learning a mechanic and playing a game. Like, I think there's a lot of effort in putting a story together for those games, right? It's a big storytelling aspect, and you'll get that from a lot of games where you might not even expect it, like League of Legends, where it's kind of just like, it's not story based. Like, you're getting into a team 5-on-5, and you're just trying to win the game, and you're trying to win the match. But there's so much lore that goes that comes behind the characters and everything. And so for me, like, story is nowadays it's much more of a bigger thing than it used to be. So this reveal, or this trailer, I really enjoyed that the way they did that. It was a very slow paced reveal, and there was a lot happening in that moment, because like you hear a little bit of a narration, and you see these arms that are in the middle of some sort of struggle, and over time the suit is kind of, something's happening to the suit. It's changing, or it's getting like torn off or something. And then just out of the corner, you can see a little bit of the spider pattern, the spider web pattern on his mask. And I just really enjoyed this moment. It kind of made me feel like there's a lot of weight on Miles's responsibility as Spider-Man. So because of that, I'm really curious to see what kind of things that he goes through in this game. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I love what you said about that. Games are storytelling and more like movies today. It's as much art as movies are art, you know. So I like it when people appreciate it, and it should be seen more like that. Sometimes I get wrapped up in my own head, and I do see games as just this thing that's like a waste of time, and I don't mean to. It's just that it's easy to see it as the thing that's taking your own life away from what you're trying to get done, right? So right. That you start to really put all these negative parts into it. But I do try to appreciate the nuances of it, and obviously when I'm developing games as well, I have to appreciate that there is this art style to the whole thing that makes it more like, I don't know, just beyond what it is. It means something different to everybody, I guess, is a better way of saying it. That's why Minecraft can be so many different genres all at once. So one thing they did at the very top of the show, and I'm really not sure the whole idea of this, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is how they started the conference.
I know.
I'm assuming Sony's got some crazy like partnership with Rockstar where let's just pretend here that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to get announced first on PlayStation consoles or something like that, or they're going to get exclusive content to PlayStation consoles. And I feel like for Sony to get that deal, Rockstar was like, you better be putting GTA 5 at the beginning of your release conference or something, right? Not to mention that GTA 5 is still the best-selling game on PlayStation 4, and it was the best-selling game, I believe, for PlayStation 3. So it's a good one to have on there. It also ensures that all the fans that are playing the online game of Grand Theft Auto 5 are going to now purchase your console. So it's really like future-proofing a lot of those fan bases that are just going to stay on the Grand Theft Auto game there. So that's interesting. But man, it was boring to see Grand Theft Auto 5's trailer again. Like, it's been on 3 consoles now. Like, how many times do we have to see that same trailer? I mean, I understand there was the new DLC content in there, but wow, like, and I'm a fan of GTA 5. It was just annoying to see it back, though. I was like, wow.
It's, not just to see it back, but just to me, that was kind of like a weak reveal. Or a weak opener.
We're watching PlayStation 3 graphics upscaled to a PlayStation 5 console, so.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like reminiscent of what you expect to see in like a brand new futuristic console.
Yeah.
So I think it was an odd choice to go with that, and I wouldn't doubt that maybe it's because of some sort of business transactions going on in the back.
It's also quite confusing to the audience, people like me, who I was wondering about the backwards compatibility of the PlayStation 5. When you see a game that's from PlayStation 4 saying it's releasing free for people on PlayStation 5, you have to wonder at least, well, does my disc of Grand Theft Auto 5 on PlayStation 4 work in the PlayStation 5, you know, or do I have to buy it again as a PlayStation 5 version, or does the PlayStation 5 version have differences from the PlayStation 4 version? And all these questions that start coming up that they don't answer, they just give you a stupid trailer.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah.
So I guess that's like that. I don't want to see, for example, a bunch of PlayStation 4 games being re-released on PlayStation 5 for no reason, you know, because then we're just paying again for the same product, and it doesn't really make any sense. So I'm hoping for that. With like Grand Theft Auto is not how most games are handled, and most of them will just work on the PlayStation 5, and maybe they give you incentive to push it from 4 to 5 or something. I don't know. GTA 5 is a bit of a different case because it has an online base game to it, so it is almost a bit of an MMO. So it's with constant updates and expansions and all that kind of stuff too. So it is a little bit different how it's treated. I understand that, but still, it does ask a bunch of questions about it. So.
Okay. Well, time will tell, or Sony will tell eventually in time.
Hopefully.
Yeah. What other games? So there's Gran Turismo 7. I don't have much to say about that. I've never been into racing games.
I really liked the first Gran Turismo. I loved it. This one reminded me of my nostalgic time with it, but I don't have enough to say about it really. So it looked cool. Okay. That's about all I can say.
That's fine. I actually have, well, not that I have more to say, but I'm just so much more intrigued by the ones that we got a little information of. So for example, Project Athia.
I got a buddy who texted me about that too. He's so excited about this game, and I was like, but it didn't show us anything.
But like, what is it exactly?
What are you excited about? Like, I get it. It's cool that it's like a fantasy thing, I guess, but I don't know. To me, I want to see gameplay. So what are you excited about?
Let me just kind of go back to it. Project Athia, is this the one? Wait, Gran Turismo 7. I'm just kind of scrolling through the video just to make sure that I am. Oh, right. It's after Socket and Clank. Project Athia.
Socket Boy.
Right. So this is the one where she's kind of like elemental or something. Right. I guess what I'm interested in is just I'm curious to see what the mechanics are going to be. Like if she has this ability to use the earth to kind of like fight monsters or fight creatures and stuff. I guess, I mean, that can only be so little compared to her overall kit. That I'm curious to see what more is in store for her abilities, and is it all going to be elemental? Like how do they portray her as a character to follow? Like is she going to be some sort of like a kind of like an Avatar type kind of character, or is she just going to be somebody who just happens to have these powers is bestowed, you know, by legends or something? Again, it's more story based that I'm thinking of. Like I'm curious to see what the point of the game is about. And so that's why I'll differentiate that. Like I'm not excited to play it because I have no idea what playing it is going to be like, but I'm curious to know more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that explains it a little bit better than, at least, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. My buddy had texted me 2 games out of this conference that he liked, and it was Project Athia or whatever, which, in my opinion, we know nothing about. So I'm shocked that he's that excited, but he was excited. And the other one was that cat one, Stray.
Yeah. Like why?
And again, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But what do you do in that game? I don't know. Like it's a cool art short film you showed me, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like. That's how I felt a lot watching most of these trailers, other than like the actual Sony PlayStation trailers. So there's a lot of like slog, in my opinion, you had to go through to get to like the real games. Now I don't mean to be harsh to anybody. I get that there's art and a lot of work put behind it, and maybe there's a great game at the end of it, but they just haven't told me enough to actually know that yet. So
yeah, and that is kind of just a recurring thing throughout this conference that like I think there's this other one we see later on, something about Goodbye Volcano High.
Yes.
Oh, and I wasn't sure. Like,
she was like, that looked so bad. Like she.
Like, yeah. Like it seems like it's supposed to be like a webtoon or something.
Oh, I know.
I didn't understand the point of showing that.
I looked into that one a little bit. Apparently, it's an adventure game. I don't even. It confused me more seeing that. Like, okay, I don't know if they mean like a Gone Home experience or something like that, or if it's going to be like the Telltale games or something, or Telltale games, I mean.
Okay.
I don't know, but I'm assuming it's something along those lines. But yeah, it just looked bizarre. There is one that my fiance said was the best trailer because it actually did explain something, and it was the Death Loop, I believe it was called, or
Returnal?
No, not Returnal. The one where the guy keeps dying and everyone's trying to hunt him.
Yeah, Returnal.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Returnal? Yeah. I thought Returnal... Oh, gosh. What's that other one that's in space that's made by Housemarque that sounds like Returnal, where she keeps dying?
Yeah, Returnal.
No, I'm talking about one where there's a dude and he's being hunted by people, and as he dies, he comes back to life, and he keeps returning and returning and returning and returning. I think it's called Deathloop.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, yes. I didn't even realize there's 2 games that have the same premise, but you're totally right.
It's, well, similar premise, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Deathloop. Yeah, that's right. That game looks... I'm curious about that one. It's him and another assassin that are like the last 2 assassins.
Yeah. To me, honestly, it looked like a great story. It honestly looked like a Tarantino film or something like that. It was.
Yeah. It totally does.
Let me say, I don't think I'll ever play it. It's not necessarily my kind of game, but it told me so much. I'm intrigued. I will definitely check out the next trailer to see more about the game. It was so intriguing to me, and they told me the whole story / gameplay of the game. So that's cool. It was well done.
Yeah, I'm very much into that. Like in terms of knowing more about it, I probably also wouldn't really play it, but
yeah,
I might want to try it just because it looks like there's some cool mechanics in it.
For sure. Now the Housemarque game Returnal that you were mentioning, to me that doesn't look interesting. I've heard some people talking about how cool it looks. To me, I don't know enough about it. Again, it looked like a short film to me, so it got lost in the muddy waters with the others for me.
I kind of thought I was gonna have some sort of like Alien versus Predator reference or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like what was the Covenant? No, is that the one that came up with? What's the prequel for the Alien versus Predator movies?
Oh, Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah.
Yeah. It also had a bit of Edge of Tomorrow vibes to it, with the live, die, repeat. It's very similar to that, but without the action and the Tom Cruise.
It's and it's also, it seems kind of weird, like it's not very explained, but like she seems like she's a human, but yet she's able to stand up against like all these like supernatural beings with just whatever.
Maybe they're going for like a Metroid vibe, which I totally respect, but I just don't see enough yet to know. Is it a third person shooter? I don't know. I'm assuming, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I actually just wanted to mention before they showed this, they showed a little bit well, they revealed some more information or tried to show some information about the console and some specs. Did you notice
ray tracing? We all go, oh cool, sure. Ray tracing.
I wrote it down thinking like ray tracing question mark. Yeah. Like, okay.
They just announce it as if that just sells the console now. Yeah. Ray tracing.
Like who's Ray and why are we tracing?
I literally went, honey, they got ray tracing.
So I don't know if you noticed, but as the controller starts kind of coming up, do you notice how like those little grains of sand, they get kind of blown away?
This is a good way to represent their controller. I thought that was interesting. I like that.
So there's a little detail in the sand.
Oh, the sand itself is the triangle, circle, X, square?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That and the grip of the controller itself, the texture of it is
triangle, circle, X, square?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's the thing. Sony's like on point for their design right now. Those controllers are beautiful. I just want to kiss them.
They look really cool.
The only thing is I don't like, and we talked about this last time, I don't like the start button, or these days it's called options. It's now become the hamburger menu button. So it's
that's right, yeah.
And it's a small thing. I think it's just weird. But I also didn't like options on the PlayStation 4 controller, and I got used to that pretty quick. Actually, I still call it start button, so maybe I'm wrong. But
I know I'm confused by it too still now.
But regardless, beautiful controller. I love the PlayStation 4 controller, so they pretty much just took it and went, let's just not change much. And I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, aesthetically it looks nice. I'm still curious to know. I think I mentioned this before, but the D-pad buttons, and maybe even like the action buttons, like the triangle, circle, square, X, like they don't look like they sit flush, but they don't look like they protrude out that much at all. So I'm curious to know what the resistance.
I hope they do protrude, like, because I feel like it's fairly important. You should be able to feel that, you know.
Exactly, yeah. Like you need that tactile sensation to know.
Ooh, good verbiage. Jeez, tactile sensation, man. Look at you. You should have been on this conference.
I appreciate your acknowledgement of my repertoire,
tactile.
My syllabus what else? Okay, so there was Sackboy. That's
there was a bunch of randoms. I mean, Sackboy and that other one that was like the little robot guys that live in your controller or whatever. It looks like they made two different kind of like Super Mario World-esque games to kind of throw in that action adventure for kids.
Yeah. What's Astro something?
Yeah. And it's funny to me because like I feel bad for Little Big Planet. They've been trying for so long now to actually make like a real smash hit since the first one. And it just hasn't really worked all that well. They did like Little Big Planet Racing, like Little Big Planet 3 tried to do like a bunch of new stuff. And it's funny because that Astro one with their trailer actually looked a little bit better than the Little Big Planet one. And I was like, oh, I felt bad because I was like, these Astro ones actually look kind of cute.
Yeah. So I just want to mention that in between pretty much every game, they really ram down your throat the
transitions of the triangle, circle, X, square.
Yeah, like what is with that?
I feel bad for the guy that had to actually design all of those because he was like, how many do you need? 30? You need 30 of these?
Yeah.
He like just finished
the same.
He just finished one, and he's like, "See how awesome this looks? See how they got the lighting perfect on that triangle, circle, X, square?" They're like, "Yeah."
Okay, now make 29 different ones, please.
29 different ones, and can you make some of them like just a room simulated with water that like turns into the shapes? And he's like, water into what? An X and a square and a circle? Yeah. Just do the X, then do a square, then do a circle, and then do a triangle.
Yeah, okay. and then make a different one where it's that but reversed. So it's just,
I know. I felt bad for that dude, whoever did it. But props to him.
Yeah, for doing it. Yeah, and not losing his job.
Yeah.
Or her job. Yeah, so I just noticed that's a transition between like every single game. There's this one game where I'm confused about, but I am curious to know, and it's Destruction All-Stars.
Yeah. Okay, this is like Rocket League meets what's that game? Fortnite? It looks like Rocket League and Fortnite, which is a shame because the first 2 seconds of that video, I thought it was Twisted Metal. It was going to be an awesome Destruction Derby Twisted Metal game, and I've been jonesing for that for a while now. And Jonesing. And unfortunately, no, I got more Fortnite-esque stuff, and I love Rocket League, don't get me wrong, but I was like, what? Like, I don't need more of Rocket League, and I definitely don't need more Fortnite, so...
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be like Extreme Roller Derby or something like that, because there was like these two teams, like one was challenging the other, and then it looks like they're in front of like a track. So I just assumed, okay, this is gonna be some sort of like weird, quirky, like pro wrestling roller derby kind of luchador game. And then they jump into the arena, and some of them are in cars, and some of them are running around. So I'm thinking, like, okay, so can you control the humans, and can you destroy the cars? Like, what is...
Yeah.
I don't know.
It looks kind of dumb, but I honestly think it's gonna sell. I think it's gonna do well. It's just if it fits that niche, it's gonna be one of those free to play games with loot boxes, and it'll sell.
I think if it's just like an online like MOBA kind of style, I can see that. Yeah, a lot of people will just get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one random one that I don't remember the title of, but it was cartoony-esque, kind of looked like Breath of the Wild a little bit, and it was like a character going around in all these adventures, but it kept cutting back to like the suburban town.
Oh man, I want to know more about that game.
Me too. Like
Little Devil Inside.
Little Devil Inside. Now that's a game that did the short film style, not really showing you gameplay, but they did show enough glimpses of what could be gameplay that I'm like, I gotta know more. Like I'm so intrigued by that. So that looked cool.
I love the music. I think it was very fitting. They made the music seem very well. It kind of sounded like French to me. I don't know if that's accurate to say, but it also sounded. Yeah. Sometimes it was very, very intense. Like and sometimes it was very kind of like quirky, and it looks like it really fits the scenes that we're watching. Mm-hmm. And I just really want to know what the correlation is between
the town,
like the hunter and that guy. Like it's like an old man, and then there's like this guy in the wild, right?
Yeah.
But that one scene where he's the hunter is he's suspended on a rope and he drops a bomb into that giant creature's mouth.
Yeah.
But then as it does, it cuts to the guy and he plops.
He's
like
on
it's
the toilet,
on the toilet, and it's just like, oh, that's so. It is very like short film-esque the way I see it.
It's well done.
But I'm so curious to see like how that works out as a video game, and I really want to play it.
And they totally did enough just to capture me on it, so I was glad about that.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to mention that some of the games that I find were a little bit more intriguing to me are the ones where the characters are like kind of disproportionate looking characters. So this being one. The other one was Solar Ash. So she's kind of like
that's a Hyperlight Drifter. That's the creator of Hyperlight Drifter who made his game on GameMaker, which is the platform that I use quite a bit for making games. So it's Hyperlight Drifter was a big kind of like pixel art indie game that was really popular on Steam and then PlayStation and then Xbox and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, the guy now is able to make his big game, so that's his big one there. So yeah, it looks interesting.
Yeah, I like the fact that she roller skates because I like to do that. And
there's a roller derby.
There was one scene that I hope we get more of in actual gameplay, and it's not just a cinematic. But when she jump off the cliff or something, and then the camera turns, the camera kind of like rotates completely, and so now she's upside down.
Yeah,
and then she waits for like that like creature thing to like fall onto it, and then she flies away. And I was thinking, that would be really cool if we can get that in game where it's like the camera angles are different. Like you're not always just center on the bottom of the screen, like watching as if it's like a third person. But I think that would create like a very awkward layer to get used to. But it looks like it could be done really well. Like, yeah, I don't know. It looked interesting.
I agree. I don't know. I don't really have any other games to talk about except for the big one at the end, which is my pick for best trailer of the show. Do you have other ones you want to talk about? I know there was a few others like Bug Snacks and stuff, but I don't really want to talk about Bug Snacks.
I don't want to talk about Bug Snacks.
Although the only thing I'll say about Bug Snacks is that Octodad is still an awesome game, even though Bug Snacks, I don't know what the heck they're doing there. But
what did I want to mention? There were a couple of things. Let's see. I mentioned
there's Demon's Souls.
There's Demon's Souls, yeah. Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo looked interesting.
Looks really creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was
No, go ahead.
I actually thought that was gonna be like the Resident Evil game.
Yeah, I thought it was Silent Hill at first. I was like, is this Silent Hill? And it was Ghostwire Tokyo, and I was like, that's weird, never heard of that. And then boom, Resident Evil hits, and I was like, oh my god, Resident Evil! Like,
yeah,
of course.
And there you go, you get it. Yeah.
And I thought the Resident Evil one was a little bit lacking in my opinion, especially like at the end with Chris. I was like, Chris, what are you doing? Or whatever. And he's just like, bleh. I was like, well, yeah. It just seemed kind of lame. But then again, Capcom's never been super great with voice acting, so it's fine.
Okay. I actually I haven't played all of them. I've played bits of some of the older games.
Yeah.
So watching this, to me, it was almost like, is this a spin-off of Resident Evil?
It seems like it, but no, it's actually Resident Evil 7. So.
Oh, okay. Wait, didn't I see the words The Village?
Yeah, but they actually use the VI They do like the Roman numeral for 7 in it to do it.
You're right. You're right. Okay. Yeah, that didn't dawn on me. Okay.
I know. I didn't notice that at first either. I had to look back on it afterwards.
Okay. Otherwise, I wanted to mention some of the maybe the more underdog looking games, but not Ghostwire. Jet, The Far Shore.
Oh, yeah.
So this one, yeah, exactly. I don't know either, which is why I'm curious about it. Like the music, I like the music.
It's very Interstellar. It was like everything about it was like some dudes were like, "Hey, I love Interstellar. Let's make Interstellar the game." And then they realized that game making is really hard, so they made like a tiny planet ship adventure game. Now, again, I don't mean to criticize. That's just what it looks like from the outside. So prove me wrong totally and make an awesome game, because maybe it's great.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is it going to be like a simulation game, or like Spore? That's a simulation game, right?
Yeah, it is. It is simulation, but it's just that it's trying to be too much, so it kind of sucks as a simulation game.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out like what genre does that fit in?
This to me looks more like it's just trying to be almost an adventure game. It almost looks on par with something like Journey, where it's like you're just kind of moving through an adventure and they're telling a narrative story throughout the adventure of it. I would love it if it was like Planet Survival or something like that, but I highly doubt it. I don't think it's a No Man's Sky or anything like that. I think it's more in tune with something like
Planet
Journey.
Survival. That's a genre, Planet Survival?
Kind of, I guess. Even Minecraft would go in that category, I guess. But it's less like No Man's Sky or less like an actual adventuring ship combat game or something like that, or like dropping down onto planets or resource gathering, and more, I think, like Journey, where it's telling a narrative-driven focus story with ambient music in the background to make you feel something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think it was going to be like that. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like who knows? We just don't know for most of these games.
Yeah, that's true. I'll just mention quickly about Demon Souls since that came up, but the Hellspawn creatures, like all those demons and stuff that we see, I think they look really good.
And well, it's awesome to see them come back from the original Demon Souls. It's funny because when the first one came out, that's when I started my career at EB Games. And it's funny to see that game come back now, and it's like full circle. It's like, wow, like that was a long time ago. But
well, so what do you think of the looks of those characters? I didn't actually play the original. But
honestly, I forgot what all the creatures looked like from the original game, and seeing them on screen, it was instantly. It was like seeing an old friend. It was like, whoa, like it was crazy. Seeing the crazy demonic creatures. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was cool. It brought me right back to that time of playing Demon Souls, because back then that was before Dark Souls and Bloodborne and all this. We didn't know really what we were getting into, so
right.
It was fun. I really enjoyed seeing that. I won't get the game, but I'm curious. I'll probably watch people play it on live stream, and of course I'll watch the speedruns.
Actually, that's interesting. I wonder if some of these games they just know that they're going to build more of a culture for watching as opposed to playing.
I think a lot of them know
for
that.
Live streams.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thought. Yeah, interesting. Anyways, yeah, for the rest of the titles, I think we can move on to the headlining one that you wanted to mention.
The headlining one. So the big one, Horizon, obviously Forbidden West. The or Horizon 2, I guess it is. I didn't notice that it's a 2, but it's Horizon 2 Forbidden West.
I missed that too.
Yeah, it's hidden. All these things I missed. This was the first like Sony-esque trailer to see, and it was a shock. I didn't know what I was seeing at first. I really thought it was Uncharted. I don't know why, but I thought everything was Uncharted when I saw it. And then I thought it was God of War, and then boom, it's just like I was like, oh, Horizon! I forgot all about that, and I was happy to see it. I was very, very happy to see it. It was very cinematic, like you said, very movie-like, and it made like the moment she dove in the water, and we just saw everything in the water as she's talking about the narrative of the story. I was just so immersed in that moment. I was just like, I want to live this game. Like it felt like when you watched Avatar for the first time. I wanted to be there. So So that was like beyond any of the other trailers, and it kind of made all the other trailers seem a little bit lacking. You can see why they saved it for the end, but that was like the real actual game reveal trailer that you wanted to get, and that was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, this one looks a little bit more, I guess, complete, I guess you'd say, in terms of I'm just watching it now again. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's almost like Atlantis underwater or something.
But it's also like the music, the narration, everything just gets me. Like you just want to know more. Like I don't know. I really like it. I've never even played the first Horizon. I've just seen a lot of footage on it. I've watched friends play it. I don't even own it. I really want to play through it. I've never had the time. But now seeing the trailer to this one, I was like, God, I just want to get into that whole thing. It looks very, very good.
And I like how so in terms of the reveal of what it is, because you don't it looks like you don't even find out what the game is for practically like a whole minute, because you're being introduced to the world.
Yeah.
You're showing the landscapes, you're showing the environment, or you're being shown that, and then you see also like you see actual living animals. So the thing about Horizon is a lot of the creatures that you can kind of take hold of are the ones that are like cyborgs, like they have some sort of machinery aspect to them. But a lot of what you see, everything is just like everything, they're natural, just creatures. There's no machinery, so you have no idea what to expect, and you're just kind of like getting immersed in the world. And I hope that's going to be what the feeling is when you actually play the game, that you feel very immersed.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't doubt that with this kind of game, because I think that's like, it just shows that this is like you said, when you're jumping into the water, and it just looks so like luscious, I guess. And then as she's kind of like traversing all these different planes and stuff, there's a lot of different environments that they've included in this, and it looks like, yeah, you can get really really lost in it. And let's see, they didn't show too much gameplay though, right?
No, and this is one of the tricks, is when you've got a big title like this, I believe you can kind of cut a bit of slack on the showing gameplay aspect of it.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, I'm expecting there's going to be a trailer later on that does show off different bow types. She's got different like tools she's got that she's going to be using to fight all these creatures. But this is definitely more of a story-driven trailer on the back of a really successful game that everyone has at least heard of. So, there's a bit of slack there when it comes to that. When you're talking about a new title altogether we don't know anything about, I feel like you do have to show a bit of gameplay so we know what the heck the game even is. Unless it's like really artsy and intriguing and it does pull you in, but most games can't do that unless they are very good storytellers. This game, on music alone, it just makes me want to play the game.
Yeah, it sounds nice. And I just scrolled to the title, so I can see where that little 2 is, just between Horizon and
Barely
Forbidden
there,
West.
yeah.
I thought that was just like a little cute design.
I know.
But anyway, so
my next topic is actually the last thing I've got, and I just wanted to ask you what your opinion is on this, because I've got my own opinion. What do you think the price is of the PlayStation 5?
Ooh. $5.
$5?
Jeez, like most consoles when they come out, they're pretty much always the same thing, aren't they?
$399
like,
for PS4, $399, right? I think PlayStation 5 is going to be looking more like the $499 price point.
I'm thinking, yeah. So I was gonna say that I think the digital one, is going to be $399.
Oh,
and then the physical one is going to be like $499 or something. I feel like it's quite a big jump to have physical versus digital.
The only difference is the tray, though. I mean, we don't know because they didn't tell us the specs, but
I guess so.
I would honestly think it's a $50 jump. I'd say $499 and $549 is what I would guess.
Oh, okay.
But I could be wrong, but that's just totally my guess. I think that's what they would be going, unless there's like a huge hard drive difference. Maybe there's a terabyte in the digital only, and there's like 250 gigabytes in the disk drive one. Maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
In which case there would be more of a jump.
I mean, I can see why. I can see how like loyal fans are going to want to get it regardless of the price point. I mean, it's going to be somewhat reasonable, but I guess I would think from a marketing standpoint that you'd want to, if you have two consoles, you're going to want one that is somewhat competitive with the current consoles out there. And if $399 is around that price, I mean, these days the consoles that are out, even if they are $399, you can usually get a bundle for slightly cheaper depending on the timing of, like, you know, season or time of the year, and it also comes with like an extra controller or an extra game or something. So really $399 isn't necessarily like the standard price. So I feel like this coming out, like if they have the digital version coming out as the $399 price point, then it justifies having a console that technically does more, because the physical one can also play digital,
right? So
they can up the price of that to, I'd say, I feel like $100 should be fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
But then they still get the market of those who want to have a competitive price console. But I mean, that's just my own reasoning, and who knows what they're up to. Yeah,
that's a good point. I didn't make this a topic because I don't really have much to say on it, but the design of the PS5, all I'll say is I think it looks intriguing, but I still think the PS4 looked better. But that's just my opinion.
What did people say about it? They said the digital one looks like a Oh no, sorry. It's PS5 versus the latest Xbox, and it's
the
like
Xbox looks like a fridge. It's just like a
yeah,
giant
exactly.
box.
Somebody said, "Do you want a mini fridge or do you want a nice looking router?"
Yeah, you're right. It does look like a wireless router. But that's the kind of thing. It's almost too frilly. My fiance said like it's just gonna get a lot of dust in it. I was like, yeah, it probably will. Like it's just with all like the frills coming off it, it's just gonna capture all this dust. I was like, ugh. Like I mean, you should dust off your console anyways, but still, I was like, I don't know. PlayStation 4 being a nice rhombus. Is that the way you would say it? It's like a rectangle, but it's like adjacent kind of thing. So
like yeah,
I
guess rhombus.
So rhombus. But anyways, I like the PlayStation 4 design a lot. PlayStation 5, while I think it's unique and they're trying something cool, console, I don't know. It's kind of weird. The controller is amazing, but the console looks a little weird to me.
Yeah. I'll just make one last note about at the very end when they show like the whole line of their products.
Yeah.
So they show like controller, physical, digital, and then headphones and stuff. As soon as I saw that, I thought, did I just watch an Apple conference?
Yeah.
Because it just seems like there was, I don't know, like
it's all white and it was all just minimal, very minimal.
And it's just like, oh, by the way, we also have these other proprietary items that you can use just exclusively with our console. I mean, I'm sure you can use them in some other ways, but that's just the vibe I got. And it was really interesting.
I mean, luckily it wasn't like there's no charge ports under controllers now.
Yeah. Yeah, they specifically showed there is a jack phone head or a headphone head. There's a jack phone head. There's a jack-o'-lantern. There's a headphone jack on the bottom of the controller. So
which is
that
awesome.
Still exists.
Thank gosh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's all I got. So all in all, not bad. It was fun. It was intriguing. I want to know more.
Yeah, I'd say that sums it up. It was different, and some was the same, but thanks.
All right. Okay, Anth0z, well, where can the audience find you?
Well, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Anth0z1. That's at Anth0z1.
And if you want to find me, you can also find me on Twitter at Mattbrush Gaming, or you can go to YouTube and type in Mattbrush Gaming there and see this very podcast in video format for your eyes.
Balls.
Oh, whoa.
I had to help you with that.
You said it, not me. But if you want to use your earballs, you can go to any of your favorite podcasting platforms out there.
Balls.
and search for those balls. Just type in the Scumm Bar Podcast, and we should be available on whatever platform you're on.
Availables.
Leave us a comment, a like, or a star. You can comment balls if you wanted to. You can even email us balls at thescummbarpodcast@gmail.com.
You could just go outside and throw a bunch of balls.
You could just go outside and play. Anth0z, you've got some ball-like thing you wanted to tell the people. I wasn't gonna let you, but I'm gonna do it now. So go ahead. You got the floor. It's all yours.
Round, round, I get around. I get around. Woo, woo, woo. Right round, round, round. You spin me right round, baby. Right round. Like a record, baby. Right round, round, round.
All right, goodbye, everybody.